I'll chime in. Try to.
All right.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a little bit about the trauma that our loved ones have gone through before us. One of the realities of these energies is that they travel through our bloodline. And, I feel that you're 100% correct that the responsibility becomes ours. And the way that looks is if somebody was violent to my parents and my parents are violent to me, the responsibility is now mine to end that violence inside the home. And, I did a workshop recently with one of our teachers, Marie Oldfield, and we made a chart. And it was astounding to me how prevalent both alcoholism and violence were on both bloodlines. And just to see it on paper, it just blew my mind. There's no way that I knew it was always there, but just to see it in black and white, it stuck with me for a while. Right? What are some of the things that maybe some of the examples in your journey where you identified that, right? Because we've all been in a place in our childhood where like, I'm never going to do this to my child when I grow up.
Yeah, 100%. I think like one of the first things in that sense that I could identify, which is didn't quite turn out the way I wanted it to, but my biological father leaving early, and even though when I'm young, periodically I would convince myself. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. I didn't know about him just yet. That wouldn't happen until I was about 11 years old. But anyway, so I grew up, and my who I believed was my dad, his name was Ted. Pretty good provider for the household. He was he had his own issues. It wasn't clear to me whether he went to residential school. We never had those conversations, but I did meet his parents, and his parents were awful. they were pretty mean old people. But anyway, so in that sense, I got to understand why he was the way he was, and then then when we moved to the mainland here in Prince Rupert, after my mom and him would split up, I believe I was 11 years old then, and I came over here, and I can't remember how long we were here already, and I was at my auntie's house, and I was flipping through this old photo album, and I kept opening it up, and then to this one page in there, and there was a guy there that he just always seemed to catch my attention, and then I would flip through, but I would stare at this guy for a while, and conversation in the room, I don't know, had something to do with my mom, and by this time her ex Ted, and I started to say something. I don't remember what it was I was saying, but then my auntie, she saw that I was looking in this photo album, and she came over and kind of I don't know. She had intent in her walk over, and she leafed through there really quickly and pointed at that picture that always got my attention and said, "This is your dad." And I'm just kind of like, my mind is blown. Like, what? And then, of course, later on, I would bring it to my mom, and then I would find out, yeah, for sure, this is your real dad. So, I got lost in that. What was the question again?
Stopping generational trauma.
Okay. Yeah. So with all of that, with my biological dad leaving, and then eventually the breakup of my mom and who I thought was my dad, Ted. I remember thinking to myself, "Oh, it doesn't matter." Periodically I would say this to myself, and in fact, it did matter. Obviously, in my teenage years, I would say that quite often, and so once I get much older, I think I was 30 years old when I had my first baby, my baby Cass. When I held her for the first time, like, I can honestly say before she was born, I didn't really care about too much. Only me. And when she was born and I got to hold her for the first time, and obviously cut the umbilical cord, all that stuff, I wouldn't let her go for nothing. When they wanted to take her and into the other room and clean her up and all that, I was like, nope, I'll take her there. Show me where to go. I wouldn't let her go. And then during that time, I promised her that I would never leave her. And when I said that, I had in mind that what had happened to me. And that was that feeling inside that I carried from, a father that I felt like abandoned me. And so, later on, that's something that I would that's a promise that I ended up breaking. Like, physically I left the home. The relationship between me and her mom was horrible, mostly because of me. So I had to make a choice back then, and that was, do I break my promise and leave after I said I would never leave her, or do I stay and let her watch her mom and dad like yell and scream at each other for the rest of her life? So I chose to break my promise. I don't know if there was, I feel like it was still the right decision because of, I guess, where I ended up and how I am as a person now. But when I did that, I drank really heavy afterward. Obviously got into the drugs really hard to forget all of that. So that's one thing that I noticed, and then talking with other people about things that they've tried to do, where they noticed something that was not good in their upbringing, and they try to they made a conscious decision to change when with their kids. And it was something that they did consciously. Like they said, I'm not going to allow this to happen. I'm going to do this. If and some of the example is where they grew up with nothing, but when that child would get into a situation where they made a bit of money, well, then all of a sudden they're buying all the things that they couldn't have when they were little. So there's subtle changes as we go along in our life where we're removing ourselves from this intergenerational trauma a little bit at a time. I've been fortunate enough to travel around and working in these different treatment centers and things like this, from Manitoba over here to BC, and I've heard other people say similar things, so I know what I'm talking about is true. Where across the country, these changes are happening in our people all over. But I'll try to be really quickly and quick in here and share something that happened to me that explains this intergenerational trauma quite clearly, and understand when I'm sharing this story that it's like it's pretty deep stuff, and I'm extremely grateful to be able to have had the contact that I had to help reveal this to me. So intergenerational trauma, and these things can come from a long way back, and I'm not sure what the limit is on terms of like how far back. I don't know that part. But anyway, in this healing journey that I'm on, I noticed that I had difficulty loving myself, and I struggled with it for over a year, wondering why am I having this challenge? And believe me, I looked at everything. I did adequate work in all areas of my life, with the sexual abuse and the physical abuse, all these abuses that we talk about. Obviously, there's always more to do, but there was this part of me that had a hard time really honestly looking myself in the mirror and saying, I love you. And like, it was, I was saying the words, but this feeling that I was sort of searching for in return wasn't there. So I can't remember who I was talking to about it, but anyway, I brought it up with, it could have been my wife or it could have been someone else. I can't remember. But anyway, I was talking with them about it, and they mentioned that something about that where it could be this intergenerational trauma. And so, I looked into it. I began to find things, when my late mom was still alive, I would talk to her about some things, just searching for answers. And she helped me quite a bit understand some things. And then she would talk about like her mom, my nanny, my grandmother, and so more things were definitely revealed, but it still never satisfied my desire to understand why I was having this challenge of loving myself. So my wife suggested that I go and see a friend of hers, one of her ceremony sisters. She's gifted in a certain ceremony that she does. So I went to see her, And so in this ceremony, she's she's doing her thing, and and just to speed up that part of it, she has a vision of this man, and this man was within my bloodline going back to Haida Gwaii. And so his job in life was similar to my own. Like our purpose in life was basically in service to the people, to maybe he was a lodge man. I didn't ask those questions, but all they said was he had a similar job to my own, and he wasn't able to complete it. And so, even though obviously passed on many generations ago, even though his spirit is over there, maybe he's returned, I don't know. But anyway, over there, and he was still feeling this feeling of regrets or whatever else. But in all of that, he had a hard time loving himself for not completing whatever his task was. That fell on me. And I was kind of blown away when she was saying all that, because what I'm sharing with you was really new to me, and even at that point, I don't even know if I really, like, my belief in this intergenerational trauma and reincarnations and all of that, I don't know where I really was at that time, but I know it wasn't where I'm at now in that belief. But anyhow, so she says to me, if you want to get rid of it, then it will also free him up. He'll be free of that forever. And those in your bloodline will also, either they become free instantly, or things will open up where they'll discover it easier. So she asked me, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'm here to get rid of it. And so she says, okay, we'll just, you'll pray and I'll help you out, and it'll be done. So after that was done, then, today, quite a few years later, that feeling that I'm talking about. So, in the morning, look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself that you love you. You love yourself. Hey, man, I love you. We're going to have a great day today. We're really going to enjoy going to work today. We're going to really accept all this beautiful stuff to come my way, because, it loves to flow to me effortlessly and all that. When you do things like that, as goofy as it sounds, you will have a feeling come over your body. That is your energy changing from what it was before you stood there and started to say those words. That's an example of what this energy that we keep talking about, that's how quickly it can respond. So, but that topic's for another time. But I hope, that sharing of my experience there is helpful, because I think it explains the question that we're talking about here, intergenerational trauma. I mean, it can be from a short time ago, or it can be many generations ago. I don't know. I don't have the answer, as I said, to how far back it can actually go. I don't have those answers, but I was very fortunate, again, to have that experience and to understand it a little bit further. Maybe I didn't understand it at that time, and how far and how that intergenerational experience is. So that was a really vital lesson for me to understand that this intergenerational trauma is true, and it is real, and And despite everything else, it is our responsibility to fix it. And so that was one of the things after that ceremony was complete that I was sharing there. And when I was sharing it, I wasn't just sharing it with that lady. I was sharing it to Creator. I was sharing it to Mother Earth and my grandfathers and grandmothers and all those that I've been blessed to have their help, telling them I'm going to do everything that I can to end as much as this intergenerational trauma and whatever karmic debt that runs in my bloodline. I'm going to do everything that I can to end almost all of it, if I can. I don't know if I can or not, but I'm going to do wherever they lead and guide me to do. I'm going to obviously do my best to do it. Oh,
How are you doing for time?
I don't know. Yeah, I should probably wrap her up, get my my clothes folded up. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, it is. Seems a lot simpler than I originally anticipated.